Greetings, mortals. Welcome to another session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell. I'm Diva, your judge, jury, executioner, and fallen angel of music. Love it or hate it, you can't deny that Phantom of the Opera is successful. It's celebrating its 25th anniversary on Broadway this month, and has amassed a worldwide gross somewhere north of $5.5 billion. That makes James Cameron look like Roger Corman. With those numbers, a film version of the musical was inevitable, and given the broad appeal of Andrew Lloyd Webber's lush score and the Beauty and the Beast Gone Bad story, you'd think it would be equally well received. In fact, pretty much the only way you could screw it up is by hiring a director whose ham-handed misguidance had already driven one successful franchise right into the ground. Oh, crap. Yes, Joel Schumacher, the man behind the bat nipples. A man whose only other contribution to the musical genre was writing the screenplay for the appalling film adaptation of The Wiz. Call me crazy, but I don't look at these credentials and think, yes, this is the perfect man to direct a pop opera about a psychologically damaged man in a mask and a cape. Obviously Lloyd Webber thought that, though, because here we are. Let's examine the case of the Phantom of the Opera. The movie begins with a stylized prologue during which our hero, older and embittered by loss, looks back on the great romance of his life.
And then one day...
Whoops, my mistake. That was the good Victorian musical melodrama that came out about this time. Ah, here we are. The aged Raoul de Chauny is attending a public auction at the Opera House, where many significant glances are exchanged and many significant props are introduced, including a cymbal monkey and a chandelier that causes dramatic wind and flashbacks. The sequence is obviously a souped-up version of the prologue and overture from the stage production, and while it is kind of neat, it does indicate how little imagination went into this movie. The story proper takes place in late 1870, and despite the fact that there's a siege on and people are eating rats and house pets in order to survive, it's a lovely day for a dress rehearsal, and a fine time for the opera to meet its new management, Messieurs Firmont and André.
I'm sure you've read of their recent fortune amassed in the junk business.
Scrap metal, actually.
That's really not funny. Through the rehearsal and some awkward exposition, we're introduced to the rest of our main players. The now young and poofy-haired Raoul, Raoul's childhood sweetheart, Christine, her BFF Meg, Meg's mother, Madame Giry, the prima donna Carlotta, Bouquet the redshirt stagehand, Piangi the redshirt tenor, and... Piangi's dwarf stunt double? Oh, and the mysterious opera ghost who goes about dropping drops on people, and whose mischief sends the tempestuous Carlotta storming off in a hissy fit.
These things do happen. I didn't stop these things from happening. This thing does not happen.
Damn, where does Minnie Driver think Carlotta's from? Northwest Side Story? Not that she's alone in the dumb dialect department.
His salary!
What? Monsieur Lefebvre used to give him 20,000 francs a month?
I'm French! Why do you think I have this outrageous accent, you silly king?
With Carlotta and her incomprehensible accent out of the picture, the managers need to find a new star for tonight's show, fast. Hey, why not let seemingly ordinary chorus girl Christine Daae have a shot?
Oh, she's very pretty.
Think of me fondly when we've said goodbye.
Okay, a bit of a weak start, but I'm sure that's just to build dramatic tension.
We never said our love was evergreen or as unchanging as the sea.
Oh, that's as good as she gets, huh? Well, let's introduce Emmy Rossum as Christine as sin number 1. I'm sure landing such a plum role at the age of 18 was a high point in Rossum's career, but every song just shows how out of her depth she is. It's not so much that her voice is terrible. It's okay if you're looking for someone to play Liesel in your high school production of The Sound of Music. But Christine is supposed to be this great singing prodigy, and Rossum's voice doesn't cut it. It's underdeveloped, unsupported, and weak on the high end. This is not the voice of someone who would take the opera world by storm and drive men to obsession. Hell, in an era before microphones, it wouldn't even carry past the orchestra pit. What? What? Rossum also doesn't bring much personality to the role. And while it's true the musical doesn't give her much to work with, it is possible to play Christine with vibrancy, passion, and energy, rather than just wandering through the part with a blank look on your face, in spite of the precedent for it. Christine's debut is improbably a big success, and after the performance her BFF Meg finds her and asks her how she got to be such a super special snowflake.
When my father lay dying, he told me I would be protected by an angel. An angel of music.
Christine, do you believe? Do you think the spirit of your father's coaching you?
Who else, Meg?
That's nice, Christine. I have to go not be near your crazy right now. Raoul is also impressed with the girl he recognizes as his old crush, so he seeks her out for some reminiscing in her dressing room.
Little Lottie, let her mind wander. Little Lottie thought...
Wait a minute. Aren't you supposed to sing that part?
Little Lottie, let her mind wander.
That's what I thought. Speaking the lyrics, sin number 2. The more I see of this movie, the more I'm convinced Schumacher just isn't comfortable with the fact that people in a musical, sing. This is one of the ways he tries to deal with it, and it's really awkward. Charles Hart's lyrics just weren't meant to be spoken. It makes the actors sound constrained and unnatural. Emmy Rossum in particular sounds like she's reading from a children's book.
What I love best, Lottie said, is when I'm asleep in my bed.
And then little Lottie said, "Someone's been spying on me through my mirror." Raoul invites Christine to supper, making light of her insistence that her mysterious tutor would not approve of such things. And sure enough, no sooner does he leave than Christine hears the magnificent, masterful tones of her angel of music.
Insolent boy, this slave of fashion.
Sweet Lucifer, is somebody torturing a buffalo with laryngitis out there? Oh, my mistake. That would be the arrival of sin number 3, Gerard Butler as the Phantom. Phantom of the Opera tends to live and die by its title role, and casting Butler in the part is the equivalent of taking this movie out to a nice quiet spot in the backyard with a shotgun. To begin with, he can't sing. This ranks alongside Pierce Brosnan and Lucille Ball as one of the worst vocal performances I've ever heard. And it's doubly awful because, like Christine, the Phantom is a character defined by his extraordinary musical talent. I hear this, and I think Christine looks dazed not because she's captivated by the hypnotic beauty of his singing, but because her brain has shut down in self-defense. Also, for someone who's supposed to be this mysterious, terrifying creature, Butler just isn't. This is mainly the fault of Schumacher and Lloyd Webber, who are clearly trying to play up the Phantom as a romantic figure. And while the character does have an alluring quality to him, it's something that works best when it's offset by how creepy and dangerous he is at heart. He's kind of like a vampire in that respect. No, a real vampire. Better. Butler's Phantom is more like a Harlequin romance cover model. He struts around with his thick hair and half-open shirt and slightly broody expression. Easy on the eyes, accessible, and about as complex and interesting as mayonnaise. By trying to emphasize his sexiness, they take away what makes the Phantom so intriguing, which actually lessens his effectiveness as a romantic fantasy. So the Phantom brings Christine to his underground bachelor pad, where he proceeds to mangle his big solo Music of the Night. And that's quite enough of that torture. Christine faints next scene. The next morning, the monkey alarm clock wakes Christine up, and she finds the Phantom busy playing with his organ. "You knew what I meant. Get your mind out of the gutter." and in one of the story's most memorable scenes, she sneaks up behind him.
Damn you!
Oh, come on, she was pawing at that thing for 10 seconds. Don't be yelling at her if you didn't want it taken off. After angsting about his face for a couple minutes, don't worry, we'll get to that. The Phantom takes Christine back topside, where he's pissed off just about everybody else in the cast by writing nasty letters to them. They wander around and sing about how pissed off they are for what feels like forever.
Far too many notes for my taste, and most of them about Christine. All we've heard since we came is Miss Daaye's name.
Seems the Phantom wants Christine to star in the opera's next production, or else, which he demonstrates by playing with dolls. No, I'm sorry, I refuse to be intimidated by any character with a Barbie dream opera playset.
Did you see anything? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good!
But the managers cast Carlotta instead because I'm not really sure why. The lyrics seem to indicate Carlotta's a big star and more popular than Christine, but Schumacher goes to great lengths to indicate everybody likes Christine more.
Would you please give this to Miss Daaye?
The audience loves her, their big patron loves her, the insane extortionist in the cellars loves her, so why not just cast Christine and make everybody happy? Makes no sense. And everybody sings commentary on these latest developments, accompanied by walking, and more walking, and more walking. Remember when I said Schumacher doesn't seem comfortable with people singing in a musical? Sin number 4 is a huge reason for that impression. He has no idea how to stage a song effectively. When people sing in this movie, which is nearly constantly, one of two things tend to happen. They stand around aimlessly,
Don't think about the way things might have been.
or they wander around aimlessly. Songs in musicals are not just songs. They're arguments, or confessions, or mental breakdowns. They're an insight into the character's deepest thoughts and feelings. Schumacher isn't interested in exploring the characters through the songs, treating them instead as a series of lavish music videos. It's true, Phantom has always been more style than substance, but good directors can find emotional and dramatic truth even in superficial material. Schumacher doesn't even try, and in his hands the musical never rises above the empty spectacle its critics have always dismissed it as. The evening's performance goes on with Carlotta in the lead, and it starts off well enough.
Nothing like that ever happened to us in the junk business.
Scrap metal.
That's even more not funny the second time. But sure enough, the Phantom not so subtly mucks about with Carlotta's throat spray, making her voice give out. And he goes ahead and kills the red shirt stagehand for good measure. Horrified, or maybe stumped by a very hard math problem, Christine flees with Raoul to the opera's rooftop, where they confess bland, pretty love to one another.
No more talk of darkness. Forget these wide-eyed fears. I'm here. Nothing can harm you. My words will warm and calm you.
I feel sorry for Patrick Wilson in this movie. He has the best voice of the three leads and is a talented actor who could have made Raoul a strong and noble young man. But his girly wig and Schumacher's ineptitude leave him stuck looking like a poncy doofus. The Phantom happens to be hiding in plain sight the whole time, so he overhears the love duet, grieves in an oh-so-manly way, and swears badly sung revenge.
The day you did not do all that the Phantom must stop you.
He's got got a little prep work to do on that, though, so the movie bumps ahead a few months to New Year's Eve and sin number 5, Masquerade. I love this scene in the stage version. It's magnificent, spectacular, and above all has a sinister and grotesque edge. There's something dark lurking behind all the revelry, which is reflected in the song's themes of deception and hiding your true self. It fits with the lingering sense of danger that permeates the entire show. Schumacher's Masquerade has no darkness about it. It tries for elegant, but it ends up dry and colorless. Literally, nearly everybody on screen is wearing black and white. It doesn't come off well visually and contradicts the lyrics, which are all about variety and color. The choreography is pretty bad as well. It's like the nightmare of a 1980s music video producer. The Phantom crashes the party dressed as Skeletor the Gay Blade. He reveals he's written an opera, Don Juan Triumphant, which he expects the company to perform. Again, or else. After dicking with everybody for a couple minutes, he vanishes down a trapdoor, which conveniently stays open long enough for Raoul to follow him. For a mad genius, this guy sure doesn't conceal his secret passages very well. Raoul gets caught up in a random reference to the original novel from which Madame Giry rescues him. Realizing the mysterious woman in black might know something, Raoul prods her for some backstory. Reluctantly, Giry reveals the Phantom is a former circus freak who she helped escape from a life of being beaten up and laughed at. Remember this part, it will be stupid later. Meanwhile, Christine takes some time off of her busy schedule of being stalked to put on her mourning cleavage and wander around a graveyard singing a song to her beloved dead daddy. Oh, really, Emmy, can't you go one line without scooping? It gets old fast. Of course, the Phantom shows up and tries to win Christine back by playing on her massive Electra complex. But Raoul, and I am not exaggerating, rides to the rescue on a white horse, so the two men engage in a clumsy and badly filmed sword fight.
No, Raoul!
No. Not like this.
IBM presents You Make the Call.
Raoul has the Phantom, a known terrorist and murderer, at sword point. He's about to deliver the killing blow when Christine begs him to stop. Should he A. Kill the Phantom anyway because that's what he'd do if the situation was reversed. B. Spare the Phantom's life but subdue him and turn him over to the proper authorities. Or C. Just walk away and let the Phantom go free to endanger everybody Raoul knows, especially the love of his life. If you answered A or B, you made the right call. If you answered C, you were probably involved in the screenplay for this movie.
Now, let it be war upon you both.
What can I say, but... Later, sometime around lap 342 around the Opera House, Raoul realizes that if they stage Don Juan Triumphant with Christine in the lead, the Phantom will show up and they can shoot him or arrest him or something. Despite this being an ironclad plan where nothing could possibly go wrong, Christine has some reservations.
Don't put me through this ordeal by fire. He'll take me. I know. We'll be parted forever. He won't let me go.
Well, I wanted to just stab him in the graveyard, but no! But Christine apparently agrees, because the next thing you know, the curtain's going up on Don Juan Triumphant with red shirt tenor Piangi in the title role. But the Phantom bumps him off so he can take over the part in time for a steamy duet with Christine. And thus we arrive at sin number 7, the point of no return. As written, this scene is already problematic. It's kind of odd that nobody notices Piangi has suddenly dropped about 100 pounds and his Italian accent. The way it's set up in the film version, the deception is even more implausible.
Master.
Oh, my mistake. That's not the opera ghost. That's Ed Wood's chiropractor. So yeah, it's pretty obvious that it's the Phantom up there, and nobody does anything about it, even though the whole point of this exercise was to draw him out and capture him. You can't even argue that they're afraid of hurting Christine, because they spend about half the song on opposite ends of the stage from each other.
I have a gun in my room. You give me 5 seconds, I'll get it. I'll come back down here. Boom!
The Phantom gets off script and asks Christine to marry him, and she, for reasons never fully explained, removes his mask to reveal his hideous face to the world. And by that, I mean sin number 8, the Phantom isn't hideous at all. Hollywood, this is not that difficult. Ugly? Ugly. Not ugly. I know you think that by making the Phantom prettier, the audience will sympathize with him more, but apart from the unpleasant implications of that line of thought, it actually has the reverse effect. The Phantom is so hung up on his appearance that this makes it look like he's making a big deal out of nothing.
Why, you ask, was I bound and chained in this cold and dismal place? Not for any mortal sin, but the wickedness of my apparent face!
You have a sunburn. Put some aloe vera on it, and quit your bitching already. Oh, and remember the whole abused in a freak show backstory? Yeah, that goes entirely out the window. Sideshows of the time employed people who looked like this. Nobody's going to come point and laugh at a guy with moderately bad eczema. Unless they're laughing at what a lame carnival you're running. If you want to make the Phantom into a dark and sexy creature of sexy darkness, that's one thing. Hey, I'm all about the bad boys. But you cannot take away the one thing that has shaped his entire existence and still expect the character to work. You just can't. The reveal of his mild allergic reaction sets the Phantom off, and he kidnaps Christine, covering their exit by dropping the chandelier. Very slowly. As the building goes up like it's the sixth circle, Madame Giry shows Raoul the way to the Phantom's lair, warning him to be on his guard lest he go the way of the red shirt characters. And of course, Raoul takes that advice to heart and is well prepared when, who am I kidding, how long does it take him to get his ass captured? Figures. The Phantom tells Christine that if she doesn't marry him, he'll either kill Raoul or force him to participate in some weird bondage/fic thing. Luckily, Christine knows that all lonely, love-struck monsters are just looking for one thing: a big wet kiss from a pretty girl. You know, the orchestra does sound nice. Pity it has to put up with the cast. Touched by the compassion of the only person who could see past his acne, the Phantom lets Christine and Raoul sail off into the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. The angry mob closes in on his lair, but he escapes by, well, just walking out the back, really. And years later, Raoul visits his wife's grave and discovers evidence that the Phantom's story might not be over. But that's crazy, because only a complete idiot would drag this out with an unnecessary sequel. Why do I feel like I'm being laughed at right now? The film version of Phantom of the Opera confirms something I've suspected for a while now. This is a musical that's really only as good as the people presenting it. Because the plot and characters are so sketchy, it needs a strong team to make it live. The original production has sharp direction by Hal Prince, evocative sets and costumes by Maria Bjornsson, and with a strong cast is a powerful piece of theater, as its long run attests. But with Schumacher's bumbling and 2 of the 3 leads unable to meet the dramatic and vocal demands of their roles, the whole thing falls apart. It becomes tedious, gaudy, and ultimately collapses under the weight of its own melodrama, which is why the Court of Musical Hell orders the following punishments. For ruining a bunch of gorgeous music with his horrendous singing, we condemn Gerard Butler to attend a concert of the complete works of Mozart performed by nails on a blackboard. For failing to provide her character with charisma, charm, or more than one facial expression, we condemn Emmy Rossum to an intimate salon with Kristen Stewart. Finally, to Joel Schumacher. You know, I don't think I can devise a punishment for him worse than the one he's brought upon himself. He's been responsible for not one, but 2 very successful properties, and he's managed to make a complete mess of them both. That's going to haunt the rest of his career. No matter what he does, for some he'll always be the guy who messed up Batman and the Phantom. So congrats, Schumacher, your legacy is secure. There is nothing, absolutely nothing anybody could do to the musical version of Phantom that could possibly be worse than this movie. Oh, fuck.